We're talking about full-heartedness at the Shield Circle today. We think of the practices and the way of life that we're advocating for at the Shield Circle as a spiritual path. I think for most of us who've studied different spiritual traditions, there's a very strong, we could say, perennial or universal emphasis in different spiritual traditions on, it's all about the heart. It's all about love. And I think it may take some experiential exploration to really help us to get the sense that the kind of warriorship that we're talking about is really about love and really about us feeling full of love. That's the essence of full-heartedness. There are many, many, ways to approach that experience or that way of being in the world, with a wide open heart. And of the four qualities that we talk about at the Shield Circle, full-heartedness is definitely probably the most multi-layered, the most, in terms of experiential flavors, probably the most diverse. Unless we think about, fearlessness and trustworthiness are really gateways to experience as a whole. So that can obviously be as varied as life itself. But in terms of actually being something, the full-heartedness that we encourage each other to cultivate as nonviolent warriors is, many layered. It can be gratitude, it can be appreciation, it can be forgiveness, it can be compassion, it can be kindness, it can be a sense of commitment, bondedness, loyalty to those we love, to each other. There's a word that we throw around together at the Shield Circle that's actually a Greek word. It's eudaimonia, which means a sense of basically wholehearted richness. Eudaimonia is a kind of well-being and joy and an experiential richness that comes from living well, living truly. So full-heartedness is many-layered and very rich in those layers. But there still is at its core, before we talk about appreciation, before we talk about gratitude, we really emphasize for each other that it is about deep love, deep care. That's the core of full-heartedness. That's the core of the path of nonviolent warriorship. So one way to interpret full-heartedness is to say that if we really seek to be full-hearted, we choose to allow our heart to be as wide as the world. So our hearts are full in the sense that they're full of all the living beings in the world, full of the many shelters and refuges and landscapes, environments. We allow our hearts to be full of all these treasures. And to really cherish our world and cherish the living beings around us is very much the essence, the core of the kind of love that we are pointing to. And, folks who hang around the Shield Circle know that most of the practices that we're talking about are based off of Buddhist, particularly Tibetan Buddhist forms, which I bring up to say that there is, surprisingly, perhaps counterintuitively, intuitively, to the Western mind, there is actually a methodology that allows us to open our heart like that. The Buddhist idea of mind is actually closer said in English, heart-mind. So when we say we seek to open our heart to hold all the world in our heart and to cherish all the living beings and places in the world, a big part of it is just thinking of these beings and places lovingly, allowing our map of the world to be enlarged to include all these beautiful beings and all these beautiful places. So there's a real tenderness, a real beauty, a real, I want to say even grace, maybe just to shock us out of the preconceptions that we have about what it means to walk in the world with the heart of a warrior. That arises when we really cherish all these beings around us. If you're watching this video on YouTube, one way to start to cultivate that experiential context of holding and cherishing the living beings around us is through loving kindness practice. You can just Google or throw it in the search bar on YouTube, loving kindness, and something good will come up. We have our own in-house practices that we do at the Shield Circle, and you're welcome to join in on one of our calls. I can put a link down in the description. But I really just want to emphasize today that though we're learning to be strong in a sense, it's not a strength that is hardened away from the world. It's actually a strength that allows us to open and to hold greater and greater circles of cherishing and care in our psyche as we walk through the world. So that's the Fullheartedness at the Oak Shield Circle.